I'll sign a one-track deal. Gave me a good offer. It sounded nice. They told me about all the good things they're gonna do for me and for the track. But yeah, it turned out to be a complete catastrophe.
What was your then strategy that you used to grow so quickly? So what are you doing that's so special?
And there's a combination of music is a very subjective thing. A song that you might love and like means the world to you doesn't reach the people, and the people that don't see it the same way. And then you have a song where you feel like, yeah, it's a good song, but honestly, after listening to it 1,000 times now and when mixing and mastering, like I'm kind of over it, you know?
Oh yeah, yep.
Those songs often do the absolute best. You should just put it out and be less picky about what you put out into the world.
What's your secret Spotify tactics?
It's not just organic content, it's not just paid ads, and it's not just releasing consistently,
In this video, I interview the 22-year-old Austrian-American-Argentinian producer Nico Jend, aka Jend Beats. In just 1 year of releasing music, he was able to amass millions of Spotify streams. He even made it in the music industry by getting signed to a major record label. However, as you'll soon find out in this video, that wasn't all it was cracked up to be and nearly destroyed his music career. Fortunately, he was able to go back to being an independent music artist, which allowed him to right the ship and go full-time with his music within just 2 years. Amazing. And he did it all without having to post endlessly on social media every day. How did he do it? Well, he reveals how in this video, so be sure to watch all the way to the end so you don't miss out on any of his amazing gems of music marketing wisdom. That said, before we jump into the interview, I just wanted to let you know that Nico goes into much more detail and depth in his book, The Independent Artist Blueprint, a step-by-step guide on how to make a living with your music. I've actually read this book myself and it's absolutely fantastic. So if you want to check out the book yourself, just go to orpheusaudioacademy.com/Jend and you can actually get 10% off this book. Just be sure to use my code Reagan10 at checkout, and this is an affiliate code so that I will earn a small commission at no extra cost to you, but I wouldn't be an affiliate if I didn't absolutely believe in this book and the strategies that Nico and his co-author Robin Morgan share inside this book. So with that, let's get to the interview that I did with Nico and Robin. Nico, Robin, it's great to have you guys here. I'm really excited for this conversation. So glad you reached out to me, and I'm really fascinated about your story, Nico, and Robin, how you joined in and everything, how you got started. But like real quick, I think what we got to talk about is like you had success really early on, really fast. And many people would even say you made it as an artist because you got signed to a major record label. But then through, reading your book and talking to you, that ended up not being all it was cracked up to be. So just, can you tell me more about your story, how you got started, how you grew so fast, how you got that major record label deal, and then how you eventually decided to go independent?
For sure. First of all, thanks, Reagan, for giving us the time and the platform. So yeah, to kind of give a little context, I started making music as like a hobby, just a side thing, as most people do. And I kind of started taking the whole thing a little more serious after I finished high school and civil service. And I started taking the whole thing more as a business and started promoting it. And things started growing and labels started reaching out. And I like being independent, but at that moment I was at, I think, 80,000 monthly listeners or 100,000 monthly listeners. And I thought, what if that's kind of as big as you can get independently? And to get really big, you kind of have to work with a label. So as I did with everything, I kind of tested out and I was like, okay, I'll sign a one-track deal. It wasn't a major label, just to clear it up. It was a well-established label in the scene, but yeah, not one of the three majors. But regardless, like they gave me a good offer. It sounded nice. They told me about all the good things they're gonna do for me and for the track. But yeah, it turned out to be a complete catastrophe. It's a long story. We don't have to go into it yet. But in the end, I kind of realized that I'll just stick to myself and stick with my strategy. And I've kind of
what was like the major part that you would say made it a catastrophe and something that you wouldn't necessarily recommend to other independent artists?
I mean, for me, I had a specific label. Not every label is bad. Of course, there's good ones out there. I just think it's quite dangerous for artists because there are a lot of foul players out there. I happened to kind of do a deal with one of them, and in the end, I signed a song for it, signed a deal for one track, and it ended up being a whole story about a whole album that I released almost a year later, and had nothing to do with the deal. But yeah, they also didn't do anything of what they promised. So the song, after I
Ouch.
signed it to them, just kind of went downhill after I stopped promoting it. Um,
So basically, they didn't fulfill on their end of the bargain, and they also tried to claim more of your music for their own than what
exactly,
was actually agreed to. Wow.
exactly.
Yeah, that's definitely a nightmare. So you managed to get out of that, and you went independent and went even further on your own.
Yeah. Since then, I've just kind of stuck to my strategy, just releasing consistently, promoting all these tracks that I release, giving them its full potential, and yeah, now I don't believe that there's a cap anymore for independent artists. I really think that you can get just as big, if not bigger, than if you work with labels, because oftentimes they can hold you back, and you sign a deal and they won't allow you to release for months until they give you the approval. And yeah, I think that as an artist, especially a beginning one, it can really slow down the momentum and kind of keep you from going on that cycle of putting out music.
That's really fascinating because yeah, that's what kind of still persists to this day. It's kind of an outdated idea that you need a record label to be successful, but I think increasingly it makes just a lot more sense for just about every artist who is serious about building a music career to go independent. And I've seen this in other industries as well, as like if you're writing a book publishing as well.
Yeah.
This is kind of with the advent of the internet, you can go straight to your audience. You don't have the gatekeepers anymore. So then with that in mind, what was your then strategy that you used to grow so quickly? Because I've had people reach out to me and they say, I'll work on a song and then I'll put it out there on social media, I'll make some posts about it and nothing really happens. So
Yeah.
what are you doing that's so special?
I mean, that's the main approach that is taught online, and basically the industry standard is like, okay, you put out a song and you make TikToks or Instagram reels about it, and you just post, which of course, there's definitely validity to that. That's the best way to grow, I think, organically. But doing that, just that really means you have to be posting consistently and putting in all that time into editing the videos. You have to be comfortable in front of the camera, which I've struggled a lot personally with. I haven't personally even been able to make many reels, but yeah, there's more than that, and there's a combination of playlisting. What I do is sending my songs to playlists, having my own playlist, then having paid ads like Instagram ads, and a combination of those things and organic content. And yeah, if done right, you can promote your music and then scale it up with every song you release.
That's a really good approach there. How you kind of build everything together.
I mean, that's very surface level. I can go into much more detail.
Right. I'm sure we will. We definitely will. But real quick, I just wanted to bring Robin in. So Robin, you were friends with Nico, or just introduce yourself real quick and how you kind of got involved with this.
I'm really not an expert in any of these fields. I mean, Nico and I just became friends years ago when we were like 17, 18. We were just finishing high school. And we hit it off because we were both really interested in like business building. We were just doing like some e-com projects. And then I went my way. I did a couple of things myself. And then Nico sort of went his way doing his music thing. But we would always stay in touch. I was living in the UK at that time. And we just always stay in touch, talk about, e-com related stuff. And that's what really stood out for me with Nico. He was like he's one of them. I can only like relate it to like a podcast that I heard about Mr. Beast, where people say like he doesn't really know anything, but when it comes to YouTube, he knows everything. Not to diminish you, Nico, whatsoever. I'm sure you know many other things, but where Nico really can drill in and where you capture his attention, where he really sticks out, is knowing the Spotify world and music marketing and knowing the little bit. And if you are an outsider like I was, or still am, to be honest, like hearing that is just, it's really, really intriguing. And he knows so much more than so many other people know. He's on calls often was with people from big record labels, and he basically can just finish the sentence for them. So he just knows pretty much everything. But that's not to sort of, give you too much promo there. But I think the way that we sort of got together was, I'd finished a project that I was doing at the time, and we were speaking a lot, and I sort of gathered that Nico had been speaking to a lot of artists, and he was basically just bringing them to his house and just like running him through the strategy. And I really thought the strategy was really, really interesting. And I sort of said to him, just sort of like off the cuff, like, why don't we do something, start a YouTube channel, or I don't know what, really try and sort of make it something, that you can bring to more people, offer to more people, and because it's really that good. And he said, yeah, why not? And really, like, no planning, one day to the next, we just then started. And it started off with like, a couple conversations on the phone, and then we started writing things together. It was a project, and then we transformed that into a book, and now it's developing to much more. And it sort of feels like, we looked at the landscape, and you'll know this more than anyone else, but there aren't that many people who are making content in this field. It's really underserved, but so many people, it sort of feels like you walk into a nightclub or a bar, pretty much every 21, 22, 23-year-old sort of wants to be a DJ or a producer or a singer, and they know how to do the art, but they're just missing sort of that sort of promotional knowledge. And in today's day and age, you sort of need 50-50. If you've got the great, it's a bare minimum to be a great artist and create good songs. The way you can stick out is actually by really promoting that really, really well. And that's what Nico really brought to the table, like no one else. And I thought, well, this is a great opportunity to sort of provide this knowledge and try our best, to sort of present it in the most sort of digestible and sort of fun way possible.
And then this developed into a year-long project, which we've just kind of finished up now, which is pretty much putting my whole strategy, like a to Z blueprint, into one digestible guide.
Yeah.
I've read the book, and it's really good. I highly recommend it. I'll have that in the description below.
Yeah, thanks so much.
If you're watching, because
it's
a great book.
But yeah, it's been amazing. Like, just in the first week, we've done really, really low sort of start, like really soft launch, and it's done really, really well in the first week alone.
And people are really happy with it. And the idea is not just the guide, but now we have everyone who gets the guide also gets to join the community. So it's people trying out how to promote the music with the strategy, and if there's any questions or help, or how do I optimize this, or do you guys prefer doing this or that in terms of ads, to kind of discuss all these things.
And I think also, if I can say one more thing before you sort of go into the expertise things again, but just as an outsider, again, like, it's really not astrophysics. It's not like the most complicated matters that we make it. Like, it's really quite simple, actually. Sort of Nico maybe he does a couple more things which you probably only want to get into at a later stage once you've hit that sort of amounts, that milestones. But in the beginning stages, there's some really easy things, like really easy things. I'm not just saying that because I've seen these videos myself, and I thought, oh yeah, well,
yeah, absolutely.
Like, it's really like the ABCs, and if you just do the ABCs, like doing the right pre-promotion, setting up your own playlists, I don't know, doing your marketing the right way,
that can really help so many artists.
Building a catalog. People question why they're not growing, and they have 6 songs on their Spotify account. They release once every sort of 7 months. And it's like, well, mate, like that's probably a sign. And so there's loads of things that we sort of try and to sort of like make it really, really easy, so we don't add any fluff or no complicated, anything.
Yeah, that was the big takeaway I had when I read the book, was just how simple it is and how accessible it is for anyone, even if you're a complete beginner.
Create that have moment where you're like, like, why the hell am I not doing this? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And basically, just to add on top, it's not just that it worked for me, the strategy. It's really that my roommate that I've known since kindergarten, he always liked electronic music, but he never was making music. He never played an instrument or anything. But he saw that it was working pretty well for me. It was at the very beginning stages, but still, he realized that, like, I could get into this as well, and he started learning music production. I made a few songs with him in the beginning, but yeah, he basically grew way quicker than I did even, and he's also he's at over 700,000 monthly listeners right now, with way less songs and less wasted money than I did. And yeah, and now me and Robin have been running an agency where we're doing the promotional campaigns for other artists, and it's the same strategy that I use, the same strategy that's in the book, and it's really helped these artists out as well. And they're not in electronic music either. Like the one's a pop singer, the other one's soul, and the other
Saying
one.
agency makes it sound much more professional than, I mean, we like we help them and the results have been great, but like we're very far away from an agency.
Yeah, it's a small thing. Like we didn't officially ever start an agency. It just kind of started with artists coming to us and asking. Started with a friend actually, and he had a manager, and that manager also manages a bunch of other artists. So once I worked for my friend, he was like, "Hey, let's do it for my other artists as well." And that kind of spread now to a few other managers.
That's really cool.
Us two schmucks on the agency. I mean, it's not that, I would say, but it's like, it's just honestly, it's sort of like sort of realizing through friendly help over and over again that, you know, potentially this is something that, you know, would be quite good side income and is a fun thing to do, because it's generally also like what I can also really tell with Nico is that like he just loves explaining and helping people. It's like, actually, I'm going to speak like you're not here, Nico, but it's really nice to see that like he actually gets like this real kick out of seeing an artist, and he's done it so many times. You know, I've been benched, and I've been, you know, I've been pushed to the side, so because he's meeting, you know, some kids from I don't know where, all over the place, and he's just, you know, telling them exactly how he does what he does, and you know, they then go on to grow really, really quickly, and it's just really cool to see that. It's just like there's this puzzle boards, and there's this sort of machine that you have to feed, and you have to continuously do that for a while, and if you repeat the right steps over and over again, it's just they all grow. And
I might make it seem a little like it takes away from the art. That's something a lot of artists always bring up, that once you start releasing consistently stuff, it's more about the quantity and less the quality.
That's something I wanted to dive into, because that's a question I've seen people ask. So yeah, if we can get more like a little bit more into the weeds here with the strategy. So would you say kind of the fundamental kind of first step is having that frequent release strategy, releasing every, you know, 4 to 6 weeks?
I would say the fundamental thing is being able to, first of all, finish songs. You know, like I from my experience, I produce a lot, but then I have 100 projects that are 30 seconds or a minute long. You know, and those don't really help you that much. It's really good that you can finish a song and stop being too perfectionistic and just saying, okay, this is good. Sure, you can always tweak this and this a little bit better, and then have the master sound a tiny little bit better. But I've really noticed that music is a very subjective thing. A song that you might love and like means the world to you doesn't reach the people, and the people that don't see it the same way. And then you have a song where you feel like, yeah, it's a good song, but honestly, after listening to it 1,000 times now, and when mixing and mastering, like I'm kind of over it, you know?
Oh yeah, yep.
Like those songs, in my experience, and I've heard it from other people, like often do the absolute best. So the only thing you can do about that, I think, is just putting out music. And if you're a musician, like you love making music, you should just put it out and be less picky about what you put out into the world.
That's so good, because yeah, I recently had a video come out on my channel, and it was pretty controversial. Got a lot of positive and negative comments, but it was titled like "Stop Trying to Make Great Music," and the whole point of it was shifting what is your category of success, or how are you measuring success? Are you measuring the success on how great of a song you just wrote, or just that the fact that you finished more music? So that's kind of what I was trying to say, was like shift your focus to just, I'm successful if I've finished more music, because again, like you said, it's so subjective, right? Because when I was kind of first getting started, I kind of had that mindset, like, well, maybe this will be the song, you know, this will be the hit that, you know, blows up and takes off.
As well. It's really important until the streams can really start to compound and start to grow.
Right.
Yeah, that's the next thing. If you release consistently, that's what sets you up to then have a bunch of songs. You know, if you have 3 songs out, to make a living from streams, these 3 songs have to be doing like insanely many streams, you know. But if you
Right.
have 60 songs out because you've been releasing a song every 4 to 6 weeks, and then maybe an album with your projects that don't fit as a single, that's often what I do. I
Yeah,
I
don't you
have
have don't you have that one song that went pretty big from the album, which you didn't really
yeah,
direct?
totally, yeah. I have a few albums, and usually what my albums are is they're a collection of songs that I like personally and I want to put out. I might think the quality is like it's not like my best work, but I think it's, you know, music is not always the best. You know, you like listen to a song at this time of the day, and on another time of the day like a different song. You know, and
Absolutely, yeah.
so yeah, that's what I've been doing. And the songs that like I was this close from throwing away and saying, okay, I'm never releasing it, end up doing the best and getting great feedback. And there's still songs I like, you know. It's not like I hate these songs or I'm unhappy with it and I'm ashamed to be uploading them. But I have a bunch of songs, and I'm not only taking my best 3 songs, you know. I
Right.
want to share all of it, or a good amount of it. And that's the
Right.
fundamental. That's some fundamentals that if you do that and you start then building the promotion on it, is where I think you'll see real success.
Right. That's what separates like a professional from an amateur. As a professional, they they have output, they create stuff, and they do it according to a schedule, and they have a routine, they have a system, and that's kind of where you get into your book. That's really I think was really key, was how you can kind of set up this song conveyor belt so that you're actually finishing more music, and you're finishing them at a level that matches your standard of quality. So it's not resulting in a reduction of quality necessarily. Plus, the more you're creating songs, the better you're going to get, and you're able to produce higher quality songs in, say, a day or a week than someone who is trying to be perfect, spending all his time on one song over months or even years.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a myth, thinking that the more time you put on something, the better it's going to necessarily be.
Especially with music, that's not the case. You know, you
Right.
hear famous people as well that like the random songs where they spend 20 minutes in the studio just packing up and like just humming some random melodies end up their biggest hits, you know.
Exactly.
It's
And then also, I mean,
This
going
is
back to like the songs that you might not like, maybe it could be a big hit. I know, like, just off the top of my head, the band Toto, their song Africa, which is probably their most popular song, they didn't really like it. And it was kind of like an afterthought putting it on the album. So think if they just said, oh no, this isn't quality enough, I'm not going to put this on the album. So
yeah.
they would have missed out. World would have missed out on a great song.
exactly.
So with that in mind, would you mind just like sharing a little bit about how you're able to finish songs that quickly in a 4 to 6 week release schedule? Hey, if you're getting value from this interview so far and you'd like me to make more content like this on my channel, then be sure to hit the like button below to let me know. And if you have any questions for Nico, be sure to leave those in the comments section below, because if we get enough questions, then I might have Nico on again for like a live Q&A or something where you can ask him questions live and get your questions answered that are in the comments section below. So any questions at all, be sure to drop them in the comments section below. And again, if you want to get Nico's exact blueprint for how to go full-time from your music, just grab his book, go to orpheusaudioacademy.com/Jend. And again, be sure to use my code Reagan10 at checkout so you can get 10% off. All right, back to the video.
So I have sessions where I sit for 6 hours and I kind of work an hour one track, then I kind of find a vocal and splice or something that doesn't fit to this song, and then I kind of think of a new track, and I kind of build a bunch of projects and I kind of lay them out as soon as possible in my DAW as a finished song. So I try and get the main components of a song down as quickly as possible, not focusing on the sound, especially of that snare or that kick or something. I just put any kick, any snare, just to have the idea of the melody or the vocal or whatever I have in mind down as soon as possible, and then put it into a song format, more or less. So I might copy the first part and just have it 2 times in the very beginning if I don't have enough time or something. But it kind of gives me an opportunity to then upload it to my SoundCloud as a private thing. And there I have a folder of all these projects. And time really changes your perception on music, in my opinion. I think all people know it when you make a track like late night, and you're into it and you love it, and then the next morning you listen to it again, you're like, fuck, this is this like.
Absolutely, yes.
So yeah, it's like that often, but sometimes the next day you listen to it and you're like, okay, this actually was pretty good. And so by saving them and uploading them to your phone, you can also share it with friends much easier. You can listen to it in the car. And it gives you a better idea of, okay, this is my music. I like these songs a lot. This and this might need a lot of work, but the base idea is okay. These I think I can scrap. And then from that, you can make new folders and kind of be like, okay, these are the ones I see for this summer, for example. Or these are the ones I could see in an album in half a year. And yeah, the more music you have, the harder decision gets of choosing what song to release. That's probably my biggest struggle, because I've had, years where I've made a lot of music, like hundreds of projects, to then decide when to release what. But yeah, once you have the folder, you can then get feedback from your friends, send it over, and ask, hey, which song do you think is best? Which song do you think could fit for the summer? Blah blah blah. And then from those opinions, you can usually make up your mind. And then I usually choose not my best song, or like in the very beginning, because if you release your best song, the best song you have right now, and you release it, first of all, it's going to be hard for you mentally to think, okay, if that's the best song, then what do I follow it up with? All these other tracks that you made before that are now not really usable because it's the downgrade and you're going down in quality, and pretty much, sorry, I missed my train of thought, but yeah, that basically allows you to have these songs out and make a decision when to release what. And then you can choose, okay, if this is the song I'm going to release next, then do the mixing and mastering and do the tweaking and changing the sounds, and then spend a week just doing the last 10% and like perfecting that song. I think it's a better strategy than working on one song, perfecting it, then working on the next one, and going by that way.
That's really fascinating. So you kind of start off with just this kind of raw songwriting process where you write the song and you will write several songs, and you're kind of have an evaluation stage where you're kind of, and also getting feedback from others. And then you go in, and once you know what your songs are, you go and you really polish them, maybe even change sounds. So that's really interesting, because I can definitely see how that would help you finish a whole lot more songs than, if you're taking the approach of like finishing one song completely, writing it, mixing it, mastering it, and then you're going to decide, should I release this or not? That's a whole lot of potentially wasted time there. So that's a really innovative, I think, approach that you have right there to songwriting. I can definitely see how that would speed up your release flow. So that's really great.
And you mentioned it before as well. And in that process, you're always making new music. So if you're releasing a song that you made 6 months ago, you know that, okay, in your vault, you're making music right now that's going to be even way better, and you're going to get better and better. And I think that's a journey that people like to follow as well. Your music doesn't have to be perfect in the beginning.
Yeah, like what you also do, what you told me a lot, Nico, is that you listen to the audience, see what they like, and you can then sort of adapt, your sound and sort of.
Yeah. Oh, that's the next thing. Of course, even better would be just to post it and just to ask your friends. Even better, which I've done a few times. It's just uploading it on Instagram. Have a slider with six projects of yours and just asking, hey, which one is your favorite? Comment the number, and yeah, it's unexpected the results you get, and there you can get a good indicator of what the people like, which doesn't mean that you have to only make that type of music and produce. I really think that you should make music that you like and other people will like it as well. You shouldn't try and fit some audience just because that's what they like,
Yeah, exactly. Because it's not going to match. You have to like it yourself if other people are going to like it. So,
and right now in house music, there's a big trend for Afro house. Like, I don't know if you're aware of the DJ band Kind Music.
No, I don't think so.
Anyways, they're a huge group and they sell out tickets all over the world for crazy prices. And they've kind of started this trend, or not started this trend, but they're they're like the biggest ones in that genre of music. And now there's a whole flood of producers trying to do exactly that, doing exactly that afro house, because they see, okay, the people in like kind of music, I should make music exactly like kind of music, and they'll like my music. Yeah, I think that's not the right approach. But music is a subjective thing. It can work out, but generally, that's also what label people and stuff say often is you have to make yourself unique in some way. Which doesn't mean you have to be a genius that comes up with a special thing. My music is not innovative at all. It's just I produce in a certain way. My songs, I think, sound maybe a little more raw because I did the mixing and mastering myself, and I don't put in the effects that other people in the genre do. But yeah, you can achieve it with any genre and with any music in the end of the day.
That's awesome. So this whole system, it applies to artists maybe in smaller genres, because like electronic music, dance music, house music, that's kind of a larger genre, but you've seen this work with artists in other genres.
Yeah, for sure, other genres as well. Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah.
And if I could go back to one thing you said earlier when you were talking about, I'm going to release this song, say like 6 months from now, and then when 6 months comes by and you're releasing that song, now you believe that you're going to have even better music to release going forward. I think that's an important mindset to have for artists, because that's something that I've gotten stuck with myself, and I'm sure other artists too. It's like I'll come across, like, I'll make a song and I'm like, oh, this is like my best song. This is so good. I can't just release this. I gotta spend all this extra time making sure I maximize its potential, right? I need to spend extra time mixing it, extra time working on it and tweaking it, making sure it's just perfect, because this is so good. But then you never release it. I've like all my best music hasn't been released, and I'll like put out just like stuff that I don't really care about, but that's like backwards. And so but I think if you have that confidence in yourself that hey, if I keep working at this, I'm going to produce better music down the road, you can give yourself that permission to put out music,
which is always the case.
No, yeah,
you're gonna make better music the longer you do it, and the more songs you made. Just the
book, which you said, Nico, which I always thought was really good, is done is better than perfect sometimes.
Yeah, 100%. It's the same with social media. This is the part that I struggle with. I'm a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to social media, and I think, okay, Instagram Reel and TikTok, like, they're so specific about what videos they're going to push out. If your caption is 2 words differently, like, it might get 10 million views more than the other thing, or the video might be good, but if the hook or the caption isn't good enough, then people won't watch it and it'll tank. I started thinking about that way too much. And yeah, I think a lot of others also don't love social media for exactly that reason. And for us artists, it is, however, still the best tool. You kind of have to use it. But yeah, I've found my way to do it, where I'm just really posting when I need to, and it's not overwhelming my followers, and I'm still showing at a frequent enough time that basically I exist and you can listen to my music. But yeah, it's done the job pretty much, it's well enough.
Yeah, let's dive into that a little bit more. So you have this song conveyor belt we talked about, and then you're releasing every 4 to 6 weeks. But now how do you promote it? Like, so I guess starting with social media, what's your kind of your organic promotion strategy?
So for the organic, in terms of social media, my organic is mainly on Instagram. I'll just make sure that 2 weeks before I start teasing the track that's coming out, or I show a video of me producing it, or just posting stories, or including it in a picture post, or just doing small things and telling people, hey, song coming out in 2 weeks. And then that's the pre-promo part, and then I'll post 1 week before, and then maybe 4 days before the release, maybe 2 days before the release. Just making it a countdown and kind of building the anticipation for when the song comes out. And it doesn't matter if you have 50 followers or 100 followers, like anything is better, and any listener really counts. Any person that listens to your music and likes it, like they might show it to their friends, and that will grow. And that's really what helped me in the beginning, like focusing on each person, like each follower, each friend that I have, like individually, and making sure like the people I can show my music, that they'll listen to it. Even when going out, say to a bar or to a club, when I get into conversation with random people and people ask what I do, I say I'm a music producer. I make music. Or I ask people, what type of music do you like? And then they say rap and house, whatever they say. It's just like, oh, I make music. And every time people are interested in it, everyone likes meeting producers and checking out the music. So basically,
Reagan, he misses no opportunity to tell people that he's into music.
No, that's great. I for whatever reason, I kind of shy away from telling people about my music.
yeah,
I probably
but
shouldn't do that.
that's why you have to be able to have your music out and be happy with what you put out. That's why that's the most important thing, making music you actually enjoy. But yeah, it's easier with random people. You meet at a bar or something, just tell them I make music. You're never gonna see them again, but if they have your Instagram or your Spotify, they might come back the next day and be like, hey, I checked out your music, I really love it. And I've done that a lot. And then turns out like months later, like people tell me, yeah, all my friends are listening to your music now. Yeah, and in the beginning, that's even now still,
Yeah,
right.
your
So what is your Instagram? Because it probably might be helpful for people to like take a look at what you're doing
for sure,
to
yeah.
kind of get an idea.
It's Jend Beats, so JEND.
Okay.
And there you'll probably see I have somewhat of a structure of my posts. I have some picture of myself, a teaser of the new track, the out now post. Every time my song comes out, I have a reel that's basically just has the lyrics of the song with the cover art that comes. It's very simple video editing, nothing crazy.
So you're just creating like simple kind of videos with your music in it?
Yeah, so for each release, I'll post a picture of myself, like, I don't know, with whatever I'm doing, like in the studio, or if I'm on vacation, or whatever it really is, just something about my life. And I'll tell people, hey, I've done this the last 2 weeks. I've also have a new song coming out. Then I have a picture of maybe me performing live if I have one. And if not, it's just, a cover art with a swipe over to a teaser of the track, and then the video of the out now post.
Awesome. So that's really simple, easy to follow. So how frequently will you post on Instagram?
I'll post around 2-3 posts when I have a release coming. So I would say around 2 times a month, or not even. Yeah, around 2 times a month on average.
So you only post on Instagram 2 times a month total.
Yeah, as a post, I try and post stories as much as I can. But stories are easier. You don't have to overthink them that much. Most people just click over like this through the stories, anyways.
Right.
But the posts I see as your tool of announcing your music, talking about your music, your achievements, and putting your face and your brand out there. Then stories, I think, is just to remind people you exist, more or less.
Okay.
Sure, you can use it for promotion as well. But yeah, just share your life. Like, the more authentic, the better. The more you can share, the more of a connection people will get with you. I want to get better at that, to be honest. When it comes to that, I don't love using social media and sharing my life. I'm not a person.
Me either.
But that's why when you have a song coming out, you can share about it, and you can take a picture of the sunset and put your album cover over it and say it comes out in 3 days and stuff, like little things like that.
Okay. And
really
then do you repurpose that same content to like TikTok or YouTube Shorts? Or,
Sure. You just upload it, but just don't. If you're spending too much time, if you're spending hours on TikTok and hours on Reels and hours on this, I think you might be spreading your time too thinly. Your time is better off somewhere else. I mainly use Instagram. I've tried TikTok. It hasn't worked for me just because I haven't been that authentic. I feel with TikTok, you have to be very direct to the listener and like speak to the camera, and be loud and make a controversial claim in the beginning, and you know, yeah, on Reels you don't have to do that. It can be an aesthetic video that you take on the beach, or what worked for me is going to a nightclub and putting my camera on slow motion. And like, I mean, at first that's for the Reels, anyways. But like making content like this, yeah, and stories.
Right, because that kind of fits your brand.
That fits my brand, you know,
with your music. Yeah.
But you might go to a rock festival and film that in slow motion. And you have people jumping up and down to music. Like that might look cool as well, you know. Or reversing a clip, or putting something faster zoomed in. Like simple things have worked pretty well for me.
But it is, I think, Reagan, like, I think, Nico, if I may say, and you can correct me, absolutely, but it does seem like you have strategically, there's maybe this misconception as artists that, you have to be maybe primarily influencer and then sort of artist second. You have sort of set up, which is kind of the beauty of it, you've set up your structure, your workflow, yourself, the way that you want it to be. And so, like you said, Reagan, you only post twice a month on, like, I think that's sort of like, that's the benefit to how you purposely want to actually live your sort of your life and have your job. You make it as enjoyable and as sort of like as efficient as you purposely can, and it's working. And that sort of, I think, goes against the common myth, or sort of the belief that, well, actually you don't actually have to post a TikTok every single day, which you then repurpose on Shorts, on Reels, on
exactly.
X,
it's so overwhelming. Yeah,
exactly. And so I think people then get really, really anxious that like, Jesus Christ, I have to do this and this and this and this and this. Where's the time to actually, like Nico said, you're just spreading it too thin. And I think what Nico shows is that, if you're actually doing it in sort of a smart way, genuinely, and if you add that with, with a bit of sort of, smart digital sort of paid performance marketing and other things, obviously, as well, don't actually have to, go nuts creating content all the time, because I think it sort of takes away the joy. I think lots of people maybe stop because it's sort of like, well, I don't want to do this. And then they actually fall out of love, thinking it's like, actually, music, being an artist is not for me, but it's actually not that. It's actually maybe all this sort of like circus-y type thing that they have to do. And so it's a misconception. So they actually believe that something is true, which isn't. And I think within the book, within the blueprint, we try and show that, like, if you follow these simple steps, it's actually really, really easy, to not overwhelm yourself.
Right. And that's kind of what's held me back personally from really even trying to promote my music. Cause I'm like, well, I don't have the time to do it the right way. So why even do it at all? Why even put out posts if I'm not going to, I want to be able to do it the right way, and consistently. And if I can't do that, right, which is posting every day, right, on all these different platforms, then I'm not going to do it at all.
How else are you supposed to think that there is a right? Like, to us, we are told by consuming social media that the only right way is to post so much, because otherwise, how are you supposed to break through the mold? So that's the same thing, with the belief, it's sort of a misconception that, you can probably only make it if you sign a record label as an artist, because it sort of gives you that, I guess, sort of societal validation, maybe to your friends that aren't artists and stuff. You say, yes, I have a record label. And I think what people really need, which, once again, I hate to say it again, but you want a framework that, right, this is one that Nico used and is using, but it's not the only framework. This is one that he has done, which has worked for him. And, there's lots of different ones that could work as well and could work for you, but just the one that you think might be true doesn't necessarily have to be true. And I think what people often want more than anything is actually just, showing them a map and sort of telling people, look, break it down. This is what you have to do. It's actually quite simple. And then you sort of give them the confidence, actually, okay, well, this has worked. I do understand this. This does sort of fit my life. So, well, let me try this. But other people, right, might look at Nico, listen to this podcast, look at his strategy and be like, well, that's not really me. I actually really love doing lots of content. And we've worked with artists that do really, really well on the content side and aren't really interested in sort of the whole sort of metrics that we are interested in, and sort of like the nitty gritty sort of digital promotion type stuff. And so I think you sort of have to pick your way, but I think what you shouldn't do is sort of just think that one shoe size fits all. It's not the case. And I think
right.
What you really want to do is sort of like pick your own and just try and sort of lay it out how it could work, because there is no doctor path, one exam, one.
The thing is that figuring that out, how it looks for you, that takes time. You're not gonna know what your routine and your thing is from the very beginning. I like mine because, as you said, like, and I said, that's what it's called in the blueprint as well. It's the minimal effort um, release strategy. When it,
Minimal.
it's like for people like me who don't like posting on social media.
But it works.
This is something that works, and I think that's something that really anyone can do. Like posting 3 pictures and posting the cover art, and putting the audio over the cover art or over a royalty-free clip you find online. Or they don't have to be like, if you just post it on Instagram, you can post anything. You know, you can repost. you can repost anything. You know, but yeah, it's
So that's kind of
simple.
just right. So that's basically like one pillar, because you also have your Spotify strategies, and you also have your paid advertising. Neither, both of those don't take a lot of time either.
No,
But do you want to just go into
of course,
what
yeah,
exactly your approach is with Spotify? Because Robin was saying earlier, you have
100%.
this basically a master's level knowledge on how to use Spotify. So what's your secret Spotify tactics?
So this is the secret Spotify tea.
Pressure now.
Yeah, pretty much. I think it's a complex thing. I think it's not just organic content. It's not just paid ads, and it's not just releasing consistently. It's the combination of these things. First of all, Spotify has very, very powerful algorithmic playlists. Like those are the ones that have really promoted me the most, more than my ads, more than my organic thing. Spotify is what's promoting me more than anyone else, because it's putting my music into people's radio playlists and people's Discovery Weekly, and that's the most powerful thing that I think you should tap into when it comes to getting as many people to listen to your music as possible. Which that should be your goal. If you're making music, make good music, create your art, but I think it would go to waste if you don't have people enjoy it. It's like the best for me. The best payment of all these things is when people write me a message, a random message that no one forced them to write anything, and they write me a whole paragraph of how they've listened to this song on their Europe trip or in their thing there, and it really changed them, or like they went through a bad time, and like the music really helped them. Like that's the best thing ever to hear.
Absolutely.
And yeah, and that's a big chunk is from Spotify that does it. So it's a combination of releasing consistently. Then when the song releases, you want to promote it really well, because the algorithm really puts a big emphasis on the first 24 to 48 hours of your release.
Right.
Depending on how your track performs in that time period compared to your other tracks, that's a good indicator for Spotify to say, okay, we're going to promote the song more, or it's a successful song for this artist, or it's not. So if you're able to get 30% more streams on your song now than you did on your last track, chances are it will be promoted more by Spotify long term than the first one. And
so that's why basically having playlists that are waiting,
that's why there's two main things that I do for marketing, and it's Instagram ads for my song directly for my release, like a video that's like, as I said before, like just with the lyrics, with the cover art, and a good part of the track saying the track out now. That's one thing, and sending people directly to a streaming link, like FanLink or ToneDen, where they get to choose the streaming platform. And the other thing is Spotify playlists, where I also promote them using Instagram ads, but they're much cheaper. It's a lot cheaper to get somebody to listen to your playlist than it is to that one song. And if you put your music into that playlist, you're not only getting streams through that at a good cost, but you're also telling Spotify what music, you're giving Spotify the data they need to categorize your music into the other artists. Spotify kind of has a map, like a 3D map of every artist, and it kind of puts people together. So an Ed Sheeran and Ariana Grande, they might be pretty similar because they're both big, that people are the same pop audience, and somebody who's doing heavy metal is like on a completely different spectrum, and house music here and here and here, and every artist has its era, and for Spotify,
I noticed that with my own music, because like back when I didn't have very many streams, it has like people also listen to. And it was like all these artists that didn't sound anything like my music. But then when I started building some of my own playlists and adding my music into there, then suddenly all those artists like, yeah, these are artists I listen to. These are similar music to myself. So I've seen that
Exactly,
happen for me. Yeah.
100%. Which is another bonus, if you put your music into other artists, which maybe aren't that big either, your profile is going to be shown on their Spotify. People also like, and then you as an artist, that's free marketing for you as well. Um, but the more powerful thing is that Spotify knows who to show your music to. If they know, okay, people that listen to your music, they also like to listen to this and this and this, because we've gotten 10,000 listens from this playlist that have been exactly like that. We're now confident to push out your music to other people that listen to that and not yours yet.
I must have to say, like that when I was speaking with Nico in the beginning, and he was detailing this part of the strategy, like I just maybe want to paint the picture a bit clearer, maybe Nico, because it's it's so clear to you and someone like me and maybe other viewers who maybe like me are just in the beginning. But what is really like amazing about this sort of playlist thing is that it's sort of so rounded. So what you do is, right, you build up, let's say you're an EDM artist, right? So you can basically create 4 to 5. And Nico, at this point, I think you have 6 or 7 playlists.
Yeah.
And so now you have to imagine. So these are 6 playlists, and they're all pretty much similar, but just different vibes. You have like summer chill house, and you have like tech house, and you have club house. And they're all like 60 to 80 songs. And so what Nico can do then is take his catalog, and like we said at the beginning, right, catalog building is really, really big. And in order to really grow consistently, you have to have compound interest of your streams. So he can basically take all the songs that he's already created, all of the ones, and put them into these playlists times 6. And within them, he'll maybe put 30 songs of his own, and more efficiently putting the newer ones on the top, and maybe the older ones towards the middle, and the ones he maybe wants to doesn't really care about towards the end. And he's then putting them next to great artists, like Fisher, or I don't know, whoever you want, like kind of music, whoever it is, right? And so once again, you sort of have that part of the strategy. Then when you have a release coming up straight away, you have 6 playlists already waiting with an engaged audience that can, go onto these playlists. So that you're going to have an automatic, in those 12 to 24 to 48 hours, which are the most important, you have the people streaming it. The third thing, which is also really great about it, is you have this dichotomy that happens between a release day promotion and the playlist promotion. The great thing is about playlist promotion is that it's like an evergreen ad. So it's constantly running. You're constantly optimizing, which means you can constantly, for much cheaper, check what audience groups actually like your music the most. So when you then actually have another release, you can then take the knowledge that you took from the playlist promotion and put it into your release promotion. So with Nico's stuff, we see all the time, okay, this playlist actually did really well with this audience group in, let's say, South America. Well, for the next release that we do, which is maybe towards that sort of vibe a little bit, we'll lock in that target audience. The fifth thing, or the fourth thing, I can't remember what the last number was that I said, which is best, is like then you have these tertiary platforms, right? So you have Submit Hub, you have Playlist Push, et cetera, et cetera. So once you've started to build an audience, and you sort of get people really tuning into,
once you get 1,000 followers on your playlist,
artists contacting you, paying you money to basically feature your song in the playlist, and you don't have to say yes to any of them if you don't want. If you're lazy, you can just basically say no, and just obviously you won't do that. We'll make a good playlist here because
that's really the best thing about the whole thing. Is
and then your art, can I just finish? And then your promotion of the playlists is then completely free, because the money you're making through the curation platforms pays for your promotion. So you basically have this endless growth cycle that
That's
you can
awesome,
work on.
yeah.
And then, going back to the Mr. Beast thing, this is where it really it locked in for me. It was like, okay, well, we're going to start this off, and I'm going to do this in English, and I'm going to do this with, my artist account. If he maybe then, maybe wants to do playlists in another language, different title, just imagine the same playlist as, with a Spanish title, with a German title, whatever, French title, same music group, just those kind of, you're just then building this passive flow of people coming in, and then that's sort of the way that you can then really gain an advantage. And those are these growth hacks that people don't really consider and don't really think about, but and it doesn't require, it takes like an upfront budget for the first couple months. But if you think about music and your promotion in that way, people don't think about that. And this is exactly what the record labels do, on a higher level, and stuff I'm sure that I don't know of and Nico doesn't know of. But it's these sort of ways that you can then really start to see growth. And I thought that was really, and sorry to yap on about it, but I thought that was really interesting when you first told me about this whole thing, Nico. I thought it was really inspiring and really smart.
yeah, that's really what makes the whole thing work consistently, like Submitum stuff. It's a different thing than making music. You become a music curator. You become one of the gatekeepers that's basically that has influence, that can grow somebody's music and promote it. And as Robin said, it's amazing to have your own asset, like your own playlist, that when your song comes out, you already have a few playlists to put it in, first spot. But then on SubmitHub and Playlist Push and Sound Campaign and Groover, you sign up with your playlist. You can sign up to all these platforms, and you get paid between $1 to $5 to $6 per track that you review.
Like, and it's hard to keep up with the amount of like submissions you're getting, right?
No, it's not hard. It's not hard.
Oh, right.
No, it's not hard. No, it's not hard. It's really, it's half an hour of work, or not even. It's 20 minutes of work. You're listening to music, and telling somebody, "Hey, this fits into my playlist," or "Hey, it doesn't."
Why do you complain about it all the time? I'm kidding.
It just has a timer. You have to be on it. That's the only thing. Yeah. These reviews, they run out on each platform. It's a bit different.
So it doesn't take a lot of time, but you got to be consistent.
Yeah, it doesn't take a lot of time, but you have to build it into your daily routine. Let's say I do it in the morning when I wake up. I just do them all for the rest of the day, and then I have to worry about it. But then you have the days where, let's say, I oversleep or something, and then I miss submission, and that's frustrating because,
Also, the last point that we didn't even mention is that collaborations. Because other artists are doing this, not many, but then you can start to do playlist swaps. But also what you can have is you'll then hear a sound from a really unknown DJ, right? Who will send in a track. And you're like, oh, this is a good bloody song. Like, let me check.
And you check out the artist, and
they've got like no streams. Hey, collab. And it's just such a great sort of like finding, connecting, sort of underground thing, which I think is like, it's such a community driven thing. It sort of feels like really sort of like, okay, the people that are really in the weeds, that are really sort of doing this properly, like they are getting their hands sticky with this. And there's other platforms like that Nico's told me about, were the ones where you can sort of submit it for DJs to play in nightclubs and all this. So there's lots of different sort of tertiary platforms that you can use, which I think aren't sort of like thought about straight away. But if you sort of start to use them, and maybe what we can do, Reagan, is sort of make a link or list some of these tools that Nico uses for the viewers to maybe watch it. I always find those things quite helpful. And if you just do that and then you start to scale it, right? Like that's when really you're just, you're getting those extra hundreds of thousands at the beginning, millions of streams, and and you can sort of you can then also add a whole. I can remember there was a short period where Nico, which I thought was really great and it worked really well, but then it was a bit too much work. But what he also did, on TikTok, for each of these playlists, he created accounts, and what he did was just basically song of the day for this certain music type, and then he would just post a song from his playlist, and he would get bunch of followers, and you just put the link on top, and then people would stream, and then that's more streams once again. And so there's really endless ways that you can do this, and that's not a lot of work,
right? So that really blew my mind, because you talked about that in your book. You actually create a TikTok account for your playlist, and all your posts are just a song from the playlist.
Exactly.
And then
no need to overthink anything. You don't have to think about
caption. That's kind of a common theme with all this I keep hearing, is how just simple and kind of easy this is. Because again, I can encapsulate everything we just talked about with your strategy. You kind of have basically just this short period of time of effort where you're really going and promoting your song for that first 24 to 48 hours, because the velocity of streams is really important for the Spotify algorithm, right? If you get to take off, then Spotify will promote it in Release Radar and Discover Weekly and all that. And then you're kind of getting that passive promotion automatically through the algorithm. Then you also have these playlists, which again takes a little bit of effort up front, running some ads, doing promotion that we just talked about with TikTok or whatever, to grow these playlists. But then once you have those built up, then they kind of grow themselves, and the streams kind of happen passively. So
exactly, and then you don't need to do the everyday TikTok of your like, if you're a person who doesn't want to do that, like, I think Nico is just like the perfect example. You don't in order to live your dream, have this amazing lifestyle, and like enjoy creating music and sort of living the way that you want to, which I think deep down all of us kind of want to. You can. It's just like, you just have to like think like, I think, for a while. And, Nico didn't do this overnight. This was, testing.
Yeah, I don't want to paint it as being
Yeah.
like an super easy thing that you'll have done in a day.
That's why this book is so
simple. I would say simple,
right, simple but not easy,
and it's doable. It's definitely doable, and it's what I think it's 100% easier than what people believe it is. Because what I see online is that people really think it's absolutely impossible, or you have to be extremely lucky. You have to go viral on TikTok, sign to a major label, or have something else, some other miracle happen. But it's just, yeah, I think it's just following simple.
But that's why it's good that you went through all this. You did.
Yeah, that's basically what I've learned through my era now in the last 4 years. Which is now why I have put everything together, because I'm now at a stage where I've kind of taken everything from my strategy, my plan, every fluff thing that hasn't worked, or hasn't been worth it, or too much of a time commitment. I've eliminated everything except really what I do. I've included what you can add on to that strategy and what you should be doing and what I should be doing in addition to this. But it's
an endless list.
the ground structure of what what I do and what works and what is really everything that's needed.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much work you get into. Like, I know you have a big, big part of your strategy is the paid advertising, but I know you probably need to get going. So, if you want to know more, number one, definitely check out Nico's book,
The Independent Artist Blueprint.
The Independent Artist Blueprint. So I'll have a link to that in the description. And if I get a bunch of likes on this video and maybe you have a bunch of questions for Nico, you leave in the comments below, then we'll be sure to have him and Robin on for part 2. So thank you guys so much for coming on. This was a blast, so much. And for me, kind of the main takeaway was just how doable this is, and it's very encouraging and motivating. So thank you so much.
Great. Thank you, Reagan. I appreciate it.
It was really lots of fun chatting to you, Reagan. It's a real pleasure.
With that, maybe you're thinking Nico is a fluke and it's just too hard to actually go full time with your music as an independent artist. You would be wrong. Be sure to check out my video on the screen now where I interviewed another independent music artist, PLV Music. And in that video, she shares how she went from knowing nothing at all about music production to building a full-time music career in just 3 years. Now is the absolute best time to be an independent music artist, as there's never been more potential than there is now. With that, leave any questions you have in the comment section below and keep creating.